Now, if you're jumping up and down saying, oh, it's not possible, I've never heard of it, it wasn't reported on, you'd be quite right. It was not reported on. Why was it not reported on? Because the same people that own the Federal Reserve Bank of the United States own all the other news media. And they would certainly not go out there with a big fanfare and news to say, oh, the Central Bank of the United States has just been taken over or nationalized by Donald J. Trump. So very few scant articles made it that Donald Trump brought the Fed into the Treasury Department of the United States, and that's news that was put out. But it's much, much bigger than that. The biggest central bank on earth, the Federal Reserve Bank of the United States, is now out of the hands of the Rothschild family. It is in full control under Donald Trump and his new 2IC to run the Fed for the United States, Larry Fink. And what it does, it presents the whole world with an incredible opportunity to do the same. Every president, every leader of the world can do the same, to bring your central bank into the Treasury Department of your country and simply say, thank you very much, we know what to do from here. It's important to realize that those who control the flow of money and those who control the printing, the creation of money, not those who have money, that's got nothing to do with it. There are many rich people around the world, incredibly wealthy people, but they're not in control of the money. It's those who are in control of the money that run the world, with their secret organizations and so much more happening behind the scenes that ordinary people have no bloody idea about. But, so if you start following the money, and you realize who controls the money, who's got the absolute right to print and distribute and create money out of thin air, then we realize where all the problems in the world are. And it's very difficult to figure out exactly when it happened because the media only responded a while later. I managed to find an interview that was done between Jerome Powell, the current chairman of the Fed, the Federal Reserve Bank of the United States, where he clearly states that Donald Trump now has full control of the Fed and can do pretty much anything he wants. What am I talking about? I'm talking about something that has not happened since the Mayer Amschel Rothschild banking empire was launched in the 1760s. And when the Rothschild empire basically exploded into the world, where he sent out his brothers and everybody, and the whole family went around Europe and they set up their banks in London, Paris, Frankfurt, Vienna, and Naples. Those were the first original Rothschild banks. And from there, they started to control the world. And over the next 100 years, they pretty much took control of the world. And they do that today, more so than ever before. Well, since the establishment of the Rothschild banking empire that runs the world today, many have tried, many countries, many presidents, many leaders, many individuals, many corporations have tried to topple and escape the Rothschild banking empire slavery system, because that's what it is. They capture all countries, all the leaders into their global financial systems and entrap them and enslave them. You cannot escape it because they put in their puppet master leaders and they put in their puppet master armies and so forth, and they control countries, presidents, leaders, and anyone that stands up to confront them or to challenge them, they're removed. Since the 1760s, this family and the banking families of the world have tortured, abducted, silenced, bribed, and murdered anyone that stands up against them. Let me make this very, very clear. If you're in the financial industry, whether you're a banker, whether you're the CEO of a bank, whether you're a head of a financial institution, an accounting firm, you have no idea how the money system works unless you've gone and studied it. The problem we face is that most of us suffer from cognitive dissonance. And that cognitive dissonance prevents us from believing or digesting information that we get about the origins of money, how it's made, how it's controlled, who creates it, and how it runs the world. when you share information like this, you always get a lot of resistance, and mostly from people who don't really know. They think they know, but they don't know. The obstacles to receiving this kind of information are many, and most of them are really our own personal problems, and it's associated with intelligence. Very smart people think that they're too smart for the world to be pulled over their eyes, and they think they know how the world works. They think they know the money markets, especially people that work in the finance industry and investments and banking and accountants, and they all come from the same education. They all come from the same accounting and banking education. At the same lies and indoctrination has been programmed into the people that run and manage the financial institutions. So obviously their sense of reality is what they were told. Those are the rules what they work with, and that's what they understand. So they can't imagine anything outside of. They can't imagine that there's another game that's being played behind the screen that they're not aware of, about the creation and the control and the manipulation of money. They just know what they were taught at university, and then the structures and the systems that they were told to implement when they get their first job, and then they implement their structures very, very well, and they keep getting promoted higher and higher and higher up. And when they're very, very good at implementing the structures and the control systems, they eventually get appointed to be the CEO of a bank. So what I found out is that the CEOs of banks often have no idea and no clue about how banks work, how money is created, where it really comes from, who's in absolute control. And it's mind-boggling that that is the case. But once you realize how they've woven the banking families that run the world and the Rothschild banking empire, how they've woven the spell into the education system, it's just such a beautiful and easy thing to realize why they could succeed. So intelligence and education is often a problem, because we think that I've been educated, I got this degree or that degree, or I've worked in this and I've worked in that institution, I know how the money markets work. No, you don't, until you realize who the people are behind the creation of money, where it comes from, and how it was actually inserted into humanity some 6,000 years ago, and then fine-tuned some 270 years ago under Mayer Amschel Rothschild. The media obviously plays a very important role, because the media is also controlled by the same banking families, and every part of media, not all of it obviously, but most of the media, and that's what they use as their main spearhead of propaganda. It's repetition, repetition, repetition. Keep telling us the lie over and over and over again, and eventually people begin to believe the lies. Well, the entire global financial scheme is controlled by a small group of people, a very small number of people. It is a business. It's a global business that controls the world. Do you really think for 1 second that a global business of this size would not be controlled? You've lost your mind if you think like that. It is the most controlled business on earth because it controls all the other businesses on earth. Okay, so let's backtrack here. Since the launch of the Rothschild banking empire that has grown into what we know as the financial industry today, no one has been able to topple the Rothschild grip on humanity. And there have been some very important and very prominent people that have tried and have done very, very well. And they've all been silenced or killed.